Now, this takes you down rabbit hole number one. Why gold? Why is this important? Right? Let me ask you guys a question. What do you know about gold?
Not shit. And I'm glad you're talking about this because every time anyone talks about the end of the world, I struggle to understand why gold matters at all,
Mm-hmm.
unless there still is a monetary system for us to be involved in. I struggle to understand why gold matters to me at all. 'Cause I told you I bought bullets. Bullets and food seems like a better idea to me than gold. So tell
Mm-hmm.
me about gold. What do you know about
You're gonna
gold?
learn today, bud.
Yeah, right. And I've never really thought about this till now, but like, I'm trying to think. We have a contemporary utilitarian use for gold in electronics. Okay, that's a checkbox, but that's not going to do anybody any good if the world falls to shit. So why would we care about that? Other than the fact that it's like through antiquity, gold has always kind of been a thing, and I'm asking myself why. Why were there gold sesterces? And why did a lot of people like put their little fucking dictator stamp or their emperor stamp on a little slab of gold? It's a soft metal, it's malleable, but I don't truly understand other than the fact that it's just a random commodity that has demand and generally
Right.
has always had some kind of demand. Why
Right.
why does any commodity essentially have demand? Food makes sense. It's that precious metals. I don't. Why? I don't. Other than like contemporary industrial uses that literally don't matter if shit hits the fan. Because what are you gonna do? Smelt it in your backyard? No, it's not gonna put food on the table. Like, why is
Right.
gold so important, Ivan?
Yeah. No. These are questions that I'm being so serious when I say this. Before COVID, I didn't know anything about gold, and I didn't care about it. I'm very much like you guys. But what I come to find is that it's 5,000 years of trust.
Mhm.
So what we've been remember when we started out this conversation, it was a recency bias, right?
Yeah.
And complacency. So that is another string that you can pull through this conversation. It's before the US dollar, there was gold,
Hmm.
there was silver. That's it was the end of the line. It was the ultimate payment of something. That's why they had the gold backed note, the
Hmm.
silver backed note, because it was heavy to carry around, so you gave you a piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
And over time, they being the government, slowly tried to pull these important commodities out of circulation, right?
Yeah.
And they were successful by in 2007 or in 1971, Nixon closed the gold window.
Yeah.
What was significant about this? Now, and so
Gave them control.
yeah, it gave them exactly. So post World War II, there was the Bretton Woods Agreement, which said that because the United States was an enormous benefactor, huge benefactor as far as who got paid what, because we only made shit for people when they paid us in gold. So we had a gold hoard that was 50 times larger than the next country in the whole world. We had 28,000 tons of gold post World War
Oh my
II.
god.
So we had
That's kind of like when
we
Fort
had
Knox became like a thing, right? That's why they made a James
right.
Bond movie about it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. This is an enormous advantage that we had. So we had all of the gold. We're holding all the fucking chips, right? And the rest of the world says, "Hey, you're holding all of our fucking money. Granted, we gave it to you. We got what we asked for, but we need some sort of something to build on. We need something to build our countries back with." And we said, instead of going with a Keynesian economics uh, system that they wanted, we went with a U.S. based Bretton Woods gold backed system, where our money was as good as gold. So if you use, or so what we said to the whole world is, you use our currency, and at any point in the life cycle of whatever, you can exchange our dollars for good or for gold.
Yep.
And everyone was okay with that. They said,
Get
you
your
know
gold
what?
back as long as you pay us in our currency.
Exactly.
I know where this is going. Oh.
Right. So we're going down this whole freaking rabbit hole. And what ended up happening was Charles de Gaulle of France. He started this whole movement in the 60s where he was like, fuck you guys. The
president of France.
The president of France.
Okay.
He called out the United States when in the war that was going on, the Vietnam War.
Yes.
We were going through, and we had enormous deficits. We were printing money like crazy, and he's going, "Hey, you don't have enough gold in the vault to back your actions over here in Vietnam." I called bullshit. So he started ripping gold out of our vaults by the ton, and everyone else started doing the exact same thing. So everyone's sitting there saying, "Bullshit, America! You don't have that much gold." So they started ripping it all out. And in 1971, Nixon closed the gold window. Right?
What does that mean?
What that means that we defaulted on our promise to give gold $4.
Okay.
So that window is no longer an option. So what ends up happening? All of that money that we were secretly printing to fund the war in Vietnam,
Right.
all came home. We had an enormous stagflationary cycle in the 70s and 80s,
Right.
where all that money started flooding back, and we were sitting there and we were panicking because the cost of everything exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to be able, I mean, you guys probably have talked to your grandparents about how they were sent to a gas station with a can of gas,
The gas
a
lines
quarter and a can of gas, and you're able to get, a Snickers bar, a Coke, and a gallon of gas for a quarter, right?
Yeah.
And then what ended up happening? Inflation,
Yeah.
crazy. We had crazy inflation in the 70s. Now, this is where the rubber really kind of hits the road.
We
So-
are this close to being at those levels. Just to bring everybody back to reality. That was the last time inflation was as bad as it's ever gotten, and we are this close to being right there again.
So this last month we had a print of 8.5. The last time we had an 8.5% print was in 1981.
Whew.
1981, and people
That's just
argue
That's just the what do they call it? The consumer index base, right?
the consumer price and the CPI.
Yeah. Which is
And
like an
everyone argued-
amalgamation of a various amount of consumer products and this and that, and it's an average of that particular inflation.
And how they calculated CPI back in the day, which was a true representation of consumer price index, is what people actually use, right? The costs of you and me to live a fulfilled life, right? Fuel, rent, food, all of these sorts of things, right? Now what's ended up happening is in order to not suppress agenda, but in order to depict what politicians want you to believe, they have pulled things out of the CPI calculation, i.e. fuel costs and food costs, right? Those two major costs have been pulled out of the CPI, which are the largest contributors of inflation. So now we get this dulled down number index, which is that 8.5.
Which is still high as fuck.
We're still high as fuck.
Yes.
Super fucking high.
Yep.
Without those two things.
My eggs have gone up more than 8.5 fucking %. I'll tell you that much
Because
right now.
there's only is there individual commodities in the CPI? Because I've seen like bacon and shit like that is in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they called it hedonic adjustments. So they argued this in the 80s. They said, okay, well, if steak goes up, people are just going to not eat so much steak. They're just going to buy chicken. It's like, no, bullshit.
Yeah.
These are the points that everyone is going with. Everyone agreed.
Oh,
these are
okay,
staples.
okay.
Yeah, so
These are-
if beef is hitting a 20%, they'll pull it out of the CPI because it's going to throw the
Okay.
average off. It's going to throw the curve.
Okay.
But in reality, people are still going to buy that fucking steak unless they literally cannot afford it, which
Exactly.
thanks to credit cards is not a thing anymore.
So
Right.
do they
And-
pull things out and replace them just kind of whatever works at
Arbitrarily,
the time.
You remember when
Okay.
used cars were a really big topic? Like they had
Yes.
jumped like 30%.
Yes.
And well, that's what's really affecting the majority of the inflation is this one commodity that's a really
so they
high
leave
spike.
things
but-
like that in there.
yes.
Oh,
So
no
you can
fucking shit.
So you can a la carte that shit to
Ooh,
fit
okay.
whatever narrative
Alright.
you feel like.
Okay.
So the government is literally cooking the fucking books, and they're writing checks that they can't cash with our money, right? So they're
And the rest
sitting
of the
here,
world's
and
money
like
from the
we're-
sound of it.
It is the so before this it was the world's money,
Mm-hmm.
but once we close the window, so I'll get into all that here in a
That
second.
makes sense.
So they're cooking the books, right? And everyone is realizing, oh fuck, we are in so much shit right now because we just financed a war that we can't foot the bill.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nixon closes the gold window in 71. We're getting massive inflation. Everyone's freaking out. Have you guys heard of Henry Kissinger?
Yes.
Okay.
I've heard a lot of
What do you know
bad
about
things
Henry
about
Kissinger?
Henry Kissinger. A lot of my the people I watch on a regular basis today have a problem with Henry Kissinger.
Right. So Henry Kissinger was Nixon's. He was an undersecretary to finance or something or other. I forget his exact position, but he was the mastermind of the petrodollar. So at the time, we were sitting there, and we were there was a handful of countries: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and a handful of other Middle Eastern countries that were running the whole oil game.
Yeah.
Right. Henry went out to Saudi Arabia, talked to the crown prince, and said, "Listen, you're selling oil for $10 a barrel. We want you to sell it for $50 a barrel." And he goes, "No, like that doesn't make sense. Something's a little weird here. Why would you want me to raise my prices? You're trying to put me out of business,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah. What kind of
Henry
dumbass am I?
Kissinger
I'm not
says-
going to do that. I'm going to raise my prices 500% overnight. Fuck you. That's dumb.
Right. That's dumb, right? So Henry gets this brilliant idea, and he says, "Raise your prices 500%, and what we will do is we will back you guys. We will protect you, your business, and the whole oil industry as long as you sell oil in dollars."
Mm-hmm.
He found out that the entire global economy runs on energy.
Yeah.
That's why oil has always been so important and will always be so important.
That's why it's important
Right.
today, right?
Yep. He struck a 30-year deal for protection of Saudi Arabia in 74.
It's 74. Okay.
In 74.
Welcome to the salt of the streets, coming at you every week with this food for thought. Hope you